It's been really interesting these past few weeks watching the moon go from full to waning like this. Never in my life have I watched the progress of the moon go through the sky, through all of its stages, until doing these walks with you. And I don't know what to say about it, but it's remarkable. It's like feeling a level of being in touch with what we live on that I haven't known before. I can relate it a little bit to becoming a hunter, because I grew up very city. When I started hunting 5 years ago, it was a foreign thing to me. And as I got more in touch with the food I was eating by being a part of the life-taking process of the animal, it gave me a deep appreciation for what it takes for us to have the food we eat and what it means to perpetuate life. We all need to get a little bit more in touch with nature. As hard as it can be to get in touch with, because it can be so hostile, but it's so liberating of your mind, because you feel like you're beginning to understand things that you couldn't understand before. I was just watching the show of Joe Rogan speaking to some kind of scientist named Graham Hancock. He touched on archaeology. This particular show was recorded 2 years ago. Yet this is the first I think I've heard of ancient civilizations in the Amazon that might predate some of the earliest civilizations we knew of in Sumer. LiDAR technology has really been opening up eyes about a lot of things. Having been a history major, my focus originally in college was the colonial and post-colonial era in the United States. And I also took a good look at Nazi Germany because I really wanted to understand how in the hell that happened. Because if we don't know how it happened, we're not going to know when we're starting to see the signs of it happening again, and maybe start to say, hey, wait, let's not go down this path. But my wife has this great interest in ancient civilizations. It kind of led me in. And when I heard about ancient civilizations a few years ago in the Sahara Desert and saw some of the images of these cities that people have found out in the desert where they thought nothing could have existed, it just told me even then how much we're led to believe things are concrete truth according to science, and yet when evidence is right in your face that there's more to this story than what you're being told, it's like it's almost impossible for that truth to be spoken about. There's like a natural tendency in people to want to reject anything new that goes against what they already knew. And there's this militant mentality among the so-called experts of whatever study it might be to protect what they claim to be the truth. Even when they start to see evidence that says there's more to this story, they don't want to accept that evidence because they have to reframe their entire argument around something that had variables that were so great that it undoes the premise of most of their previous research. I guess as individual human beings, people make these decisions to keep sticking with what they think is true to protect something that they're worried about losing. Now, in the case of being a scientist, I assume if you admitted that everything you knew about a subject was wrong, that's gonna hurt your standing in the scientific community. But I mean, what I think I would rather see from the scientific community is not a desire to be the authority on any particular subject. Like Degrassi seems to really enjoy being called upon to be the expert on all things science, when he knows damn good and well there's a lot of things that he doesn't understand, but he says them dogmatically as if they're true because he likes the attention. I can't blame him. I'd like the attention. I'd like to have as many viewers as he has, that's for sure. The thing about science being obscured from us might come from the fact that these scientists don't want to be seen as wrong. And it might be just that they don't want to have happen, is to have their whole life's work debunked. Or it could simply be that they don't want to lose their primary source of income and change their lifestyle. Or if you want to be a little bit more pessimistic about it, they like the control they have over what is. being able to be the authority of what is, and they don't want anything to challenge that authority. Whichever of those it is, there's no doubt that we as humans have a hard time getting to the truth of things, and it's many times other humans standing in our way for whatever reason. And it's a lot like this diet. We've been told for the past 40 years that the food pyramid is the proper way to eat if you want to have a healthy lifestyle. And the largest part of that food pyramid is grains and breads, cereals, things like that. I have not touched cereal or any grains or breads, with one minor exception, is that I've had a couple of ice cream bars, what do you call it, ice cream sandwiches, and whatever that bread-like material is made of has got to have some kind of dough in it. But those were, by the way, the only times I had ice cream that they hurt my body, where I had a negative effect, where I felt stomach pain or it kept me up at night. So I haven't had any in the past 7 months. And they tell me that's the thing that I should have the most of. We should all have the most of this. They don't take any exception for whatever body type might be heavily affected by gluten. If that was the case, that we should all be eating that way, then why has my reaction to cutting out the thing that's the most important been a fountain of youth for me, and the ability to do things that I couldn't do when I was even younger than I am now? I'm supposed to have all this oxidative stress on my body and not be able to do whatever. And I had arthritis setting in my back at one time, and pains and issues that were associated with the elderly that are gone now. And it's because I decided to stop listening to the quote experts. And then as I've studied this diet more, I find out that institutions like the American Heart Association have backed away from certain things that they've said in the past about high protein, high fat diets are not being demonized by those same authorities. Yet all of the nutritionists and doctors who studied under these doctrines are still out there preaching the same doctrines. So we're full of all this misinformation. We don't know anything about our history. We barely know anything about ourselves. You know, it's just lies on top of lies. And it's time that the information age gave us some damn exposure to where we say, you know what? We're tired of listening to lies. We just need to be able to ask questions. Questioning what's going on. Make sure you know why you know what you know. And it just brings me back to how we just tend to accept so much of what we hear the most of. But when we hear slight bits of evidence that contrary to that truth, we don't investigate it as much as we should, because we just assume, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that nonsense. I ain't got time for some guy on an all-meat diet. He must be crazy. How dare you go against what everybody thinks is the truth? You could just join us and make us all more comfortable. And I continue to find that this diet has been amazing for me. It has been a fountain of youth that I didn't even know I was looking for. I just knew that I needed to get my gut out of pain, and I heard that there was a possibility that this diet might do it, and I investigated a little further. And once I was convinced I had enough evidence that this could be possible, even in the foggy state I was in, I was able to get started down a path of truth and discovery that came from changing what I put in my body. And you can start that path. You can find the new body that you would love to have, if only you will look outside the box that everybody has put you in of knowledge, that they say this is the science. You need to be able to look beyond the accepted rules of whatever science you're looking at and look for evidence of things that contradict, and then ask yourself, why don't they want us to just know more? Why do they want to hide facts? Why do they want to hide information? When I say they, I mean whoever is in that position of authority in that field. Anybody who comes out feels they have to show you, look, I've found some evidence that contradicts what we all thought was true. Can we look at this? Because if our job is to get to the bottom of things, this is important. I don't think it would undo anything except for misinformation and give you clarity. I mean, isn't that what we would really like to have, is enlightenment and understanding of the world around us? Well, the one bit of understanding I can give you is that lion diet has transformed me from a man who was accepting of the fact that I'm getting older and I'm not much farther away from death. My father only lived about 20 years longer than I am right now. That's all I got left. Then I found this diet and it's changed everything. I'd love to show you the sunrise, but it's really kind of hidden. Here, let's take a look. Still beautiful in this image. I love a sunrise. But that's gonna do it for today. I'm 1.15 miles in. I'm planning on continuing this walk for the rest of 3 miles so that I can try to push closer to my record, which was right at 6 miles. Quick update before I finish. I've crossed the 6 mile mark. I still got a little bit of ways to go. So I'm real happy to have set another mark for myself. Just keep pushing a little further each day. Life is good. I'll see you tomorrow.